The policy was supposed to make her feel safe. That was the reason Ivana Kril signed it. Comprehensive coverage. Premium tier. Peace of mind in uncertain times. The agent had smiled when he said it. "You'll never need it," he assured her. "But if you do, everything will be handled." Ivana believed him. She was careful by nature, organized, on time. She kept receipts, backups, copies of everything. Insurance felt like the logical extension of that mindset. Control through preparation. The accident itself was minor. A slip on wet stairs, a fractured ankle, painful but manageable. The hospital filed the claim automatically. Ivana expected paperwork. She didn't expect silence. Days passed, then weeks. When she finally called the insurance company, the voice on the other end was calm, almost friendly. "Your claim is active," the representative said. "It's currently under evaluation." "Evaluation of what?" Ivana asked. "Eligibility," the voice replied. That word didn't belong there. Eligibility suggested choice. Ivana received a letter a few days later. Not a denial, not an approval, a request. Additional context required. They asked about her daily routine, how often she exercised, whether she used handrails, if the stairs were familiar to her. Ivana answered honestly. Why wouldn't she? A second letter followed. This one asked about prior conditions. Nothing alarming, just clarification. Ivana noticed how often the word appeared. Clarification, verification, assessment, never refusal. The payments didn't start. Instead, her claim status changed. Conditionally covered. Review ongoing. Ivana called again. A different representative this time. Same tone. "We just want to make sure everything aligns with your policy profile," she was told. Profile. Ivana opened her policy document. It hadn't changed, but her dashboard had. New indicators appeared: risk behavior index, compliance score, preventative engagement, numbers she had never seen before, no explanations attached. Ivana felt a flicker of unease. Still, she trusted the system. Insurance was about math, right? Actuarial logic. She rested, followed medical advice, submitted every document requested. Then came the call. "We've noticed inconsistencies," the agent said gently. "Inconsistencies with what?" Ivana asked. "With expected outcomes," the agent replied. Expected by whom? Ivana hung up slowly. Because for the first time, she understood something unsettling. Her injury wasn't the problem. She was. And the system designed to protect her was now trying to understand how much responsibility it could quietly return back to her. Ivana started receiving messages instead of answers. Not letters, notifications, short, polite updates that never resolved anything. "Your case remains active. Thank you for your patience. We appreciate your cooperation." Cooperation became the key word. Every interaction assumed it. Ivana was asked to complete a post-incident wellness survey. Optional, according to the message. But the claim status didn't update until she submitted it. The questions weren't about pain. They were about choices. Did she rush that day? Was she distracted? Had she noticed the wet stairs before stepping on them? Ivana hesitated. Answering honestly felt risky now, but guessing felt worse. She answered carefully. Neutral language. No blame. 2 days later, a new note appeared on her dashboard. Preventative awareness. Moderate, no explanation. The payment still hadn't started. Instead, she was assigned a case partner. A man with a calm voice and practiced empathy. "My role is to help you navigate the process," he said, "so we can reach a fair outcome. Outcome, not support." They spoke weakly. Each call followed the same pattern. Reassurance first, then questions. Questions about recovery timelines, questions about her environment, questions about whether she felt she could have avoided the incident. Ivana noticed something subtle. Every answer she gave created a new category. Hesitation became uncertainty. Pain became variability. Frustration became emotional stress. Nothing disqualifying, just complicating. Her case partner suggested a virtual assessment. Just to align expectations, he said. The assessment wasn't medical. It was observational. A clinician asked Ivana to walk on camera, to describe her home, to explain how the fall happened. When Ivana corrected a detail from an earlier report, the clinician nodded. "I'll note the adjustment," she said. Adjustment sounded harmless. Later that day, Ivana's dashboard updated again. Narrative consistency. Under review. Ivana stared at the phrase, narrative, as if this were a story she was telling, not an injury she had suffered. She called her case partner immediately. "What does narrative consistency mean?" she asked. He paused. "It just helps us ensure we're working from the same understanding," he said. "Whose understanding?" Ivana asked. Another pause. "The policies," he replied. Ivana began to feel watched. Not by people, by metrics. Her behavior was being tracked, compared, evaluated against an invisible baseline. She realized something with a chill. The longer the review lasted, the more her case became about how she behaved under review. Patience improved her score. Compliance stabilized it. Questions introduced volatility. The next message suggested she attend a preventative responsibility session. Optional, but highlighted. Ivana didn't attend. Her status changed the following morning. Claim processing. Extended. No explanation, just extension. Ivana sat at her kitchen table, ankles still swollen, bills beginning to stack. She had done everything right, filed promptly, answered honestly, followed instructions, yet the system kept moving the goal. Because it wasn't deciding whether she deserved coverage. It was deciding how much ownership of the accident could be returned to her. And the quieter she became, the easier that calculation seemed to be. Ivana met Lena in a waiting room she didn't know existed. It wasn't a branch office, not a hospital, just a neutral space used for extended claim consultations. Lena sat across from her, ankle brace visible, posture careful. She looked calm in a way Ivana didn't trust anymore. "You're still early," Lena said quietly, almost kindly. Ivana blinked. "Early for what?" "For resolution," Lena replied. They talked while waiting for their appointments. Lena had slipped in a parking garage 6 months earlier. Similar injury. Similar policy. Same insurer. "I got my payout," Lena said. "Eventually." Ivana felt a flicker of hope. "How long did it take?" Lena smiled thinly. "Long enough to change how I answered questions." She explained that the process had accelerated only after she stopped correcting reports, after she accepted small reframings, after she agreed that the fall might have been influenced by personal oversight. "I never said it out loud," Lena added. "I just stopped pushing back." Ivana asked what happened after the payout. Lena hesitated. "They closed the claim," she said. "Then they updated my profile." Ivana frowned. "Profile?" Lena pulled out her phone and showed her dashboard. A new section appeared beneath her policy. Adjusted risk tier client accountability. Noted, they didn't revoke coverage, Lena said. They recalculated it. Higher premiums, reduced future coverage, exclusions that hadn't existed before. All justified. All perfectly legal, Lena said softly. Because I agreed. Agreed to what? To the version of events that made the payout possible. Ivana's name was called. Before she stood, Lena added one last thing. They don't need to deny claims anymore, she said. They just price the story afterward. Ivana's consultation lasted 40 minutes. No accusations, no pressure, just gentle reframing. The consultant suggested that acknowledging shared responsibility often helps cases reach closure. Closure again. Ivana felt the trap closing. If she accepted responsibility, she might get paid. If she didn't, the process could stretch indefinitely. The payout wasn't justice. It was a trade. Money in exchange for narrative. On her way home, Ivana checked her dashboard. A new option had appeared. Accelerated resolution available below it. A disclaimer. May affect future policy conditions. Ivana stared at the screen. Because now she understood. The system didn't want her silent. It wanted her agreeable. And once you agree, the accident stops being something that happened to you. It becomes something you are responsible for. Ivana didn't select the option immediately. She left the screen open and walked away. The ankle still hurt. Not sharply anymore, but persistently. A reminder that time hadn't solved everything, just softened the edges. The bills didn't wait. Neither did the system. Over the next days, the messages became gentler. No reminders, no warnings. Just quiet reassurance. Many clients find accelerated resolution relieving. Closure can support recovery. We're here to help you move forward. Move forward from what? Ivana noticed how the language never mentioned responsibility directly. It implied it. Late one night, she clicked the option. Not because she believed it was fair, because she needed the process to stop. The confirmation screen thanked her for cooperation. The payout arrived 2 days later, exactly as promised. No apology, no explanation, just money, and a subtle update to her policy. Coverage adjusted based on recent evaluation. Ivana read the details slowly. Higher deductible, lower incident tolerance. Exclusions framed as preventative alignment. Nothing illegal, nothing surprising, just consequences she had technically agreed to. Friends congratulated her when she mentioned the payout. At least it worked out, they said. Ivana nodded. She didn't correct them. Weeks passed. The ankle healed. Life resumed. But something else lingered. At the grocery store, Ivana noticed herself holding the handrail more tightly than necessary. Avoiding small risks, double-checking mundane decisions, not out of fear, out of calculation. She had learned how accidents were measured, not by damage, by deviation. Months later, she received an email inviting her to review her experience. How satisfied were you with the claims process? Ivana stared at the scale. Very satisfied, neutral. She closed the email, because satisfaction wasn't the right word. The system hadn't helped her heal. It had taught her how to behave. She realized the final truth slowly, without anger. Insurance wasn't about protection. It was about predictability. And when something unpredictable happened, the system didn't absorb the loss. It returned it. Quietly, legally, back to the person least able to carry it. Ivana paid her next premium on time. She always would. Not because she trusted the system, but because she understood it now. It didn't need to deny you. It just needed you to agree. And once you do, the risk is no longer shared. It's personalized. Ivana thought the story ended with the payout. That was the illusion. The first sign came quietly. Months later, when she tried to switch providers. Same documents, same injury history, different outcome. The new insurer didn't reject her. They hesitated. "Your profile indicates elevated behavioral risk," the agent said, reading from a screen. "Behavioral." Ivana asked what that meant. "It reflects prior claim patterns," the agent replied. "It's standard." Standard meant invisible. She accepted the higher premium, then noticed how often preventative guidance appeared in her inbox. Tips on safer movement, suggestions for lifestyle adjustments, reminders framed as care, all automated, all tracked. Ivana began noticing something else. Friends with similar injuries had different experiences. One received faster payouts, another faced delays but no adjustments. The difference wasn't the accident. It was how they had spoken about it. One friend admitted fault early. Another emphasized unpredictability. Ivana realized the system wasn't just collecting outcomes. It was learning language. How people described harm, how they framed responsibility, how quickly they accepted shared blame. Those who internalized it were low friction. Those who didn't were expensive. One evening, Ivana met Lena again. They talked over coffee, months removed from paperwork. "Do you ever think about it?" Ivana asked. "All the time," Lena replied. "But not about the fall." "About what, then?" "About how careful I am now," Lena said. "Not physically, narratively." Ivana understood immediately. They spoke about how they explained injuries now, how they avoided words like accident, how they preemptively added disclaimers. "I tripped, but it was my fault. I should have been more careful. I wasn't paying attention." Language as insurance. Weeks later, Ivana slipped again. Nothing serious, no injury. But her heart raced. Not from pain, from calculation. She replayed the moment in her head. What would she say if she had to explain it? Who would she blame? She caught herself mid-thought and sat down. Because that was the final transformation. The system had moved inside her. Not as fear, as reflex. Ivana realized she hadn't just agreed to a payout. She had agreed to a framework, one where risk was personal, one where safety meant predictability, one where mistakes were narratives waiting to be priced. Months later, an internal report leaked online. Not scandalous, not dramatic, just charts. Graphs showing how client engagement tone correlated with claim outcomes, how early acceptance of responsibility reduced long-term costs. Ivana read it without surprise. She had lived the data. The article disappeared within days. But the system didn't need secrecy. It needed consistency. Ivana paid her premiums, filled out surveys carefully, used words that felt safer. Not because she trusted the system, but because she knew how it worked. And because opting out wasn't really an option. Not when protection had become conditional. One night, Ivana reread her original policy, the one she had signed believing it meant security. It still said the same thing. Comprehensive coverage. Peace of mind. Nothing in the document mentioned behavior. Nothing needed to. Because behavior wasn't enforced. It was incentivized. Ivana closed the document and turned off the light. She lay awake, thinking about how systems evolve, not by becoming harsher, but by becoming reasonable, by rewarding the right kind of compliance, by pricing dissent quietly, by teaching people slowly what kind of truth was affordable. And as sleep finally came, Ivana understood the deepest truth of all. Insurance no longer exists to absorb risk. It exists to teach you how to carry it alone, quietly, responsibly. and with a signature that says you agreed.